And Dan Coffey, this question is for you. The APD has had to eliminate or reduce several special investigative sections, including the Drug Investigations Unit, the Special Assignment Unit, and the Street Level Crimes Unit. Please tell us your view on what, if any, impact this has had on the recent increase in violence in our community.
Well, it's been a very large contributing factor. We have 323 sworn officers on the force today. When I left the assembly, we had 384. That was back in 2010. So we've lost roughly 60 officers. That just makes it impossible to keep those special units together. You don't have the manpower, the resources, the people to do the work. So we have to rebuild the police department. That's going to take probably a year and a half, 2 years. There's 2 academies ongoing now. When I'm mayor, I plan on keeping academies going on a regular and continuing basis to build the force, at least to the level of 400, where we might have an opportunity to do some community policing, and would also permit us perhaps to bring back 1 or more of those special units that would hopefully address those questions like property crimes, like the metro, and so on. If we can build the force, and if we can afford to build the force, then that's the only solution that I know we have, and it's got to be based on community policing.
Thank you. Dan, in order to engage the community in positive and proactive ways, studies show that police officers need to have anywhere from 35 to 50% discretionary time. This time allows them to develop relationships with the citizens they serve. As a result of the current staffing crisis at the Anchorage Police Department, officers have not been able to have that needed discretionary time. As mayor, how would you propose to increase staffing and therefore the officers' discretionary time?
Well, the staffing of the police department for sworn officers and probably dispatch as well needs to be increased. In order to do that, you have to allocate resources to the police department. We're coming into a time where we may not have as much resources as we had in the past few years, which essentially means some things are going to have to go. Policing is job, public safety is job 1, and it is going to have to be given the resources necessary to do the job. The studies are correct, but you need about 400 officers to even attempt community policing. So the first task is to build the force. The second task, and to find the resources necessary to do that. And then the second task is to work in this community policing, particularly in the more troubled neighborhoods, so that you can address some of these issues that are so obvious to all of us as we go around town. If we can do that, then we'll have a chance of making a difference over time, and that's what I intend to try to do.
Many of our community strategies to address violence focus on dealing with the immediate and long-term aftermath of violence that has already occurred. But in order to effectively reduce violence, we must focus on primary prevention, or stopping violence before it ever occurs in the first place. What is your understanding of primary prevention strategies, and which strategies would you prioritize for Anchorage in your role as mayor?
Well, obviously primary prevention has a key role, because I understand from the reading I've done most recently in response to this questionnaire is that if children have safe, stable, and caring environments, then the risk of continuing violence is diminished substantially. And so what you hope to achieve is that, but it becomes intergenerational. If violence occurs in this home, then it occurs in the next home, and it's just a continuum, almost like a disease in one way. But if you have those experiences and where you're safe and warm and protected and nurtured, then that diminishes. So it's part of an education process. It's part of an effort to make sure that you break the cycles of violence. And in order to do that as a mayor, you need to engage the community, and community solutions have to come out of that engagement. And it's a broad-based thing, and we have many, many organizations that are currently attempting to do this. And the degree of success will depend on the degree of commitment which we make to trying to accomplish that.
There is a lack of detox and associated substance abuse treatment in Anchorage, abuse treatment options in Anchorage. There's a strong correlation between substance and alcohol abuse and incidents of violence. A significant portion of violent crimes in Anchorage have alcohol and drugs involved. The cost of first response and incarceration could possibly be reduced if detox assessment and treatment services were provided to at-risk individuals. Do you support funding the creation of additional detox and substance abuse facilities in Anchorage?
Provided it's done with a continuum, yes, I do, absolutely. But if you just do detox and you don't do treatment and you don't do housing, you don't do all the things that are necessary that can possibly lead to recovery, then just detox alone isn't going to handle the problem. So it's a complex, detailed way of doing things. I worked on the Carlick Manor when I was on the Assembly, and housing first is an absolute working way in which to deal with this. But if you don't provide housing after you detox somebody, they're going to revert right back to the old behavior because they're not safe, warm, and dry, and in a protected environment. Okay, so the city is going to have to contribute some resources to this solution, and part of it is land, where you can build the housing necessary to do this, and the detox, and the treatment, and the job training, and all of these things. So if we commit to doing it, and again, it's like the police, the resources have to be there. That may mean we don't do some other things, but we've got to have the resources to do it.
What partnerships are most vital at this time in our community? Police and schools, school and parents, gang members and religious organizations, faith-based organizations, and police.
I think all of the above, if you think about it. Everybody has a role to play in some of these challenges that we face, and if you engage in the community as a facilitator, I'm talking about the city engages as a facilitator and a proponent and someone who participates and allows a lot of these solutions to come out of the communities in ways that are supported by the communities when they come out, because they're participants in the plans. It's not a top-down solution, and it involves almost all of those entities and individuals and groups that you named. Without that sort of effort, and really the city can be both the mayor can be a bully pulpit, and the city can and should be a facilitator of these sorts of things. And then if it comes out that way and the communities own the solutions, then they'll be participating in those solutions, and they'll have an opportunity to make those solutions actually work and effectuate the change we need to see.